Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How about you?
Good.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Where are you joining us from, Julia? I heard that you were different time difference.
Los Angeles.
Gotcha. So we're in the same
Yeah,
time zone.
yeah, Juliana. So the time it still changes in both places. Like,
Yeah, but there are continents in which the time
I
doesn't
know, I
change.
know, I know. It was confusing to me because I'm like teaching a class this week, and I keep
Exactly.
like getting confused when I'm not supposed to actually show up.
There are like
But
maybe two or three continents in which they're the
yeah.
same.
All right. So Sarah, where are you? Are you at the restaurant now?
I'm at the restaurant, but they just turned all of the lights off, so I'm gonna have to pop my head out and ask them to turn them back on if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Mm.
Okay. But at least you made it, Juliana. So.
No, I mean silliness. This is a globalization. Some, downsides. A lot of
Mhm.
downsides, honestly. Um, yeah, no, I mean, you know, I prepare usually an hour in advance, so that I guess that's good.
It's all right. It throws you in there. Okay, there's Sarah's lights are back on, it looks like. So here she comes.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right. There we
Can you
go.
hear
Yeah,
me?
no, it's like, yeah,
Okay.
suddenly it's like as soon as we hit record, it just like it goes black. I thought it was something I did.
No, no, they're,
Yeah.
working in a casino. They're working on the lights in the restaurant right now, so I just asked them to put it
Okay.
on pause.
All right. So Las Vegas, it's such a fascinating place. I haven't been in such a long time.
So what's
Not since the pandemic, I don't think. But like I've always loved it there, and like my dad used to gamble a lot. He used to play like slot machines. So like growing up, we went as a family like a bunch of times, and probably like a half dozen times, I guess. And he never really like won a lot or lost a lot, but the casinos like always treated him like really nice. They would give him like sweets and plane tickets, and sometimes, and usually like comp restaurant bills. So it's like I have like really nice memories of just living well in Las Vegas. Not so much like the party vibe because it was like I was younger, so it's like I never really had that, but it just being catered to in these nice hotels and in rooms, and it's always been positive. But the one thing I remember the most about Las Vegas was this weird flea market that was off the strip. It was called like the world's fantastic swap meet or something like that.
I know
Like I
exactly
have
what
no
you're
idea
talking
if it's
about.
still there or not, but like we would always go to it like every time. And like my dad would buy these like $3 plastic shower heads, and like they didn't have like water saving controls, so they were like super strong, and he would like buy a half dozen of them and just like give them to people. But yeah,
The
it's do you
spot.
know what I'm talking about? Is it still there? Do you
I
know?
know exactly what you're talking about. I went like two
Oh,
weeks ago. It's still very
really?
alive, very well. It's probably bigger than when you were there last, just because I feel like every time I go, it's bigger and bigger and bigger. It's, probably 20 minutes from the strip, right?
Right.
And you can literally buy anything you want there. You can buy, t-shirts, you can buy a kamal, you can buy beer, you can buy, they have like a whole stall of just like different band t-shirts, which is really funny, but they have awesome food. A lot of like local vendors set up shop there now, and it's just like a
Okay.
great way to spend your morning, honestly. On the weekends it's crazy. The lines to get in are, sometimes up to an hour, which is crazy, but it's
Really?
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like the last time I was there was at least 10 years ago or something like that. But
it's so
I'm
fun. I
sure it
can't believe
still
that you
like retains this just weirdness to it.
yeah, it's quite odd.
Like I love that place so much because it had this like real character, and like the people working there, and just like the types of stalls just selling like the weirdest shit, all very different things you would never find anywhere. And it was like it was like this other side of Las Vegas that just felt so different, but also so wonderful, and like it was fascinating to me.
Yeah, I
What did
think
you buy there? I'm just curious.
I got a
What did you
poncho that
find?
had Homer Simpson on it. It was really fun.
Yeah.
I've gotten a hat or two. I typically go, honestly, just for the experience and to enjoy some food. They have great tacos. I'm sorry about the lights. They
Okay,
are
that's
working
all
on
right.
them.
Yeah.
It'll get better and worse, and then they'll be done. But honestly, I just go with like a few of my chefs. We go and we have a great time, just eating around, and it's just there's a little bit of something for everyone. And
That's
it's just a really cool place.
that's
I
so
think
cool. Like when I was there, like 10 plus years ago, there definitely wasn't much of a food part to it. Like there were some like packaged products of like just all selling like that one item that the person made and was trying to like market or whatever. But I don't remember, maybe like one like restaurant stall, but I don't remember tacos or
they
much else. I don't know, but
they
that's
now
that's
have
cool.
a little amusement park for kids as well, and a huge
Okay.
stage for people to perform. There's always like live music going on, and there's like a huge like dance area. So there's like a bunch of bands playing, a bunch of people dancing, and it's really expanded. It's even in the 5 years that I've been here, it's just like, popped off.
Wow. No, it's because it was just this weird, freakish shopping center,
Yeah.
like way off strip when I was there. Yeah, that's amazing to hear that it's become like transformed and grown. I was almost certain it just died during the pandemic.
They had,
Mm.
I mean, they definitely closed for a little bit of time, but then they came back stronger than ever. I
Okay,
love that
that's
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 your
amazing.
memory of Las Vegas. I feel like no one's ever asked me about the swap meet before, but I think that if I asked anyone in my kitchen, they have all been. One of my tortilla cooks actually at one point had a stall there and would make birria and sell birria at the swap meet,
Okay,
which is really cool.
is it only open on the weekends or is it every day?
There, it might be open other days, but it's
Okay,
it's the weekends is where it's at. So like
okay,
all the families go out. It's really fun. I feel like people forget that Vegas is more than just the strip. I mean, it's such a hospitality driven city, and so many people work here and, you know, live here to work here. But everyone who works here is not going to the strip on their days off. Like, we're
right,
going to do different experiences. And like that's how a lot of people spend their weekend.
right. It's like in New York. It's most New Yorkers don't go to Times Square. Every
Yeah,
that's in not that the strip is essentially Times Square, but
kind of is.
just where it's the tourists are and or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
I was for the first time in a casino 3 days ago in
yeah,
my way back on my way back from Joshua Tree in a casino, the casino of Aguas Calientes here in California.
Uh-huh.
Uh wow. So I I have I noticed that everything is very controlled, even the air, the temperature, everything seems to be the lighting. And I wonder because we were basically looking for a place to eat in a rush, very hungry. So we realized that the restaurant was inside the casino, so we had to go through the whole thing. And but I was thinking, obviously, the experience of dining in a casino is different, and I wonder how much of that impacts the restaurant in terms of, I don't know, norms, regulations. The lighting has to be the same. Like, how much is it restrict what the restaurant can do, or restaurants in general, or not? Because it seems to me that in this case, everything had to be under the same kind of energy vibe. Obviously, the music. So I don't know how much your work is affected or influenced, not necessarily negatively, but I'm curious about that.
Working for a casino is definitely a really unique experience. I would say that a lot of the trends, like a lot of the people who come in and out, like are dictated by what's going on in the city. So, when we have big sporting events, big like concerts, big conferences, like we see a huge influxes of people, which is great. And I've noticed year after year, like last January, we were particularly slow. So this year, the city of Las Vegas brought in a lot of conventions in January. So we could have a really busy month this year, which is great. It's like really interesting
Hmm.
how the city drives a lot of revenue to the casinos because we are, a huge tourist attraction here. And then working within the casino, like as you saw, like the lighting, like I have someone in the casino in my restaurant right now playing with the lighting. And, it is really intentional and there's a lot of moving parts, which is something that I've never seen before. And there's a lot of support. One thing that I never have to worry about is, if my oven breaks, there's an engineer. Just call the engineer. It comes. It's like I'm not the one that's going to be pulling it apart, fixing it. So there's a lot of resources at your fingertips here that people don't necessarily realize. But then in return, the expectation as a chef is very high. One thing that's a little bit different that I'm sure you guys probably know is there has to be something for everyone in these restaurants. Our demographic isn't the same as the markets like New York or LA or really food driven cities like Lima or, a lot of places across Latin America, Mexico City. Our clientele is coming from all over the world. We have people from China, people from Canada, people from Kansas. Like, how do you make a restaurant that every single one of those groups want to go to? And that
Yeah.
has been one of the most interesting challenges. Coming here, I worked for, some of the best Mexican chefs in the world. And, you think that coming to Vegas, you're going to give them something that is so unique and you've never seen this before, but you can do that. But you also need to make sure you're bringing people in the door as well. So putting together the menu and creating the experience here is really cool because you have your enchiladas and those like quesadillas, the things that people will look at and be like, oh, I'm going to eat this. And then they come in and they see the menu and we have like a very expansive aguachile selection. How we use our masa is super unique. And you might not know that necessarily looking at the menu, but once you get in and you realize what the experience is, you can fill in with all of these really cool and unique little things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Is it how many restaurants are in the Wynn?
There are 12 or 13
Okay.
restaurants in the Wynn. Maybe a few more. There's a few that the Wynn doesn't own and operate. They typically have restaurants that like a lot of restaurants on the strip are, chefs that have contracts. So like if you go to casinos, you'll see like the Joel Robuchon or like, Guy
Yeah.
Fieri or whoever those chefs are. Most of the restaurants at the Wynn are Wynn owned and operated. So they're all unique concepts to this hotel, which is really cool to be a part of. And, being able to create a unique experience in the Vegas market is something that you definitely don't see as often.
So does that give you more freedom, I guess, if they're Wynn owned and operated or
It does. Um,
okay.
it took about like Casa Playa is about 3 years old. And when we first opened, the menu was definitely, I think, more approachable. I wouldn't say more approachable, still very approachable now, but
Hmm.
reading it is very like mass market. And as we've
Yeah.
like defined ourselves and as we've developed as a restaurant, as we had the 50 best awards last year and we're like just a little more things are trickling into the city that are food oriented. And we've been
Hmm.
allowed to shift to a little bit more of a creative and like ingredient focused restaurant, which has been really fun to be a part of.
Have the large I noticed a lot of large format dishes on your
Yeah.
menu. Is that something that kind of came later or
We've
Hmm.
always had a few large format, but
okay.
we host a lot of large groups here. Lots of bachelorette parties. Most of our dining
Hmm.
room is 4 tops, 6 tops, 8 tops, and we encourage people
Okay.
to experience the restaurant that way. So typically, people come in and you know enjoy the meals family style. And it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I mean I guess dining in Vegas is very group oriented.
Oriented, yeah. There are very
Yeah,
few
wow.
restaurants that are tasting menu focused, and we've played around with that too, like seeing what
Yeah.
that experience looks like. And people don't like being told what to eat. We found people like, we would come in and like we have our tasting menu, and people would be like, "Oh, I want the tasting menu, but I want this dish and this dish and this dish." And I was like, "So you just want an a la carte menu?"
Yeah.
So we quickly shifted, but it's the growing pains. It's how we learn what the market is. Like my experience in
Yeah.
Vegas is pretty limited to this restaurant. So I've been growing with this restaurant as we learn these trends.
So you moved, so you're from Boston, right?
In Boston, yeah.
Boston, and had like a long career in New York, then were hired to open Elio with Enrique Olvera. But that basically that just got like screwed by the pandemic, right? Did it
Oh
open
man.
before the pandemic, or like
We were
it was
slated to
about to
open
open?
the day the casino shut down. So it
Okay.
was such like, as you guys know, like if you're in F&B at all, like that was such a unique time for restaurants. It was so
Yeah.
sad. And so we had all of this momentum going. Like we were doing friends and families. Like we were supposed to be
Yeah.
open for lunch and dinner. So we had like 500 people supposed to be coming in like 2 days before we opened to do this like big friends and family. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, we're not opening. The casino is completely shutting down. And Vegas was a ghost town. You could walk down the Las Vegas Strip and not see a soul. And it was weird, but because all of the casinos still had all of their lights on, all of the shows, like outside Treasure Island, there's a pirate
Mhm.
show, and it would still
Yeah.
happen without people every day at their scheduled time because they needed to keep that
Yeah.
water flowing. So it was like
Yeah.
so surreal. Um, but Elio did eventually open, but in that like kind of weird time in restaurants where there are still so
Right.
many restrictions and so many
Yeah.
SOPs, and then especially working for a casino, they're very rule oriented. So there's just we opened and then they closed again, then we opened, and it's not the time to promote a restaurant either when so
Yeah.
many people in this industry are just like struggling to make it by. And it really fizzled out. It was really sad. I was really excited about that restaurant. It was going to be the first fine dining restaurant on the strip. But I was really fortunate that the Wynn asked me to stay on and open a different Mexican concept with them. So here comes Casa Playa.
So like when that closed, how did you feel? I mean, you totally uprooted your life in New York and came and you were suddenly in Las Vegas of all places.
Yeah.
Did was it like weird? Like what were you thinking like do I have to go somewhere else, or was it like a very quick transition of Elio closing and starting to kind of plan Casa Playa?
I was devastated. It was a really weird time, and it was at the end of the year, and it just was there's so much unknown and uncertainty. Like I didn't know that the Wynn was gonna ask me to stay and open another restaurant. I just
Hmm.
assumed that I would have to move back to New York and find another job. I didn't even like look into it. I just like assumed that that would happen, and I
Yeah.
was giving myself time to process. And a few weeks later, the Wynn asked me if I was interested in staying and doing it, and I said yes. And not even knowing the full concept, it just was like a different Mexican restaurant, and I was like, sure, like let's do this. Um,
Yeah.
so it was a pretty quick transition, but in the moment and for like the following few weeks, you know, I was so excited about that opportunity to showcase all of those unique things to the city, and it never happened. So being
Yeah.
able to do it in my own terms, through
Yeah.
Casa Playa was really like, a relief. It was really magical. I'm really happy that I was able to stay on.
Yeah, no, it's a weird the way things work out
Yeah.
sometimes, like it's super cool. Um,
Will you say Las Vegas because of all, many chefs being interested in moving there or opening some sort of a version of the restaurants there of a new concept? Will you say Las Vegas is developing its own version of fine dining, or people are adapting to what fine dining is, or something in between? How would you define that in case of Vegas or Las Vegas?
I think that people forget how much of a food city Las Vegas is. It might not have the same, like I said before, it's not the same market as New York and LA. but
Yeah.
it is a very culinary driven city in its own way.
Mm.
And the more momentum that we have, the more chefs that we have coming here to showcase their talents and,
Yeah.
bring these different concepts to the city, only expands our horizons. The more unique concepts that we have, the more fine dining concepts that we have, it opens up more doors for all of the chefs that are here. If there's something that, like, we're starting to see a lot more like fine dining Korean restaurants. We're starting to see different types of restaurants aren't just, the Italian or the
Hmm.
sushi restaurants that are, or the
Right.
steakhouses. The more restaurants like that are coming in, the more opportunity there is for all of the other chefs to, work with these cool ingredients and, experience these really cool dining experiences. So I'm really excited that, we're getting a lot more relevant. I mean, I wouldn't say relevant. There's always a lot of relevant chefs here, a lot more, up and coming talent in the city, because it just makes us, more and more exciting as a culinary destination.
Yeah.
Is it hard to stand out? Like with just so many restaurants in a small area, is it like, especially with so many, as you said, like you're trying to please a wide range of people.
I think
Is it hard to kind of, do your own thing and get people to like pay attention, but also like maintain that attention?
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think is a really interesting because a lot of people come to Vegas and they want to eat at the Thomas Keller restaurant or the Hell's Kitchen restaurant because they saw it on
Hmm.
TV. And
Yeah.
we will never be that. Like,
Yeah.
as long as I'm at Casa Playa, like, I am not a celebrity chef. I am not on TV. I don't want to be on TV. I have one restaurant and like I'm not trying to like have a Bouchon everywhere we go. And
Hmm.
that's fine. Like that's what the restaurant is. And I'm really excited to be in this restaurant focusing on the food. Um and there is, we are missing out on some clientele because we're not that type of restaurant. Like there's always going to be those
Hmm.
people who just want to be in that restaurant with Gordon Ramsay. And,
Yeah.
maybe that's not the clientele that we want to have in the restaurant. Like we want to
Hmm.
have people who want to have unique experiences in a, more culinary focused restaurant. And that's what we're going to continue to do. I'm lucky to work for the Wynn, and the Wynn has a lot of momentum behind it. It's the Wynn and Encore is two casinos, but they're combined. Where there's a
Hmm.
lot of other casinos that, there's what, like 11 or 12 MGM casinos. There's, so many of the same, they're not the same, but like a lot of the casinos own multiple properties. The Wynn just has this property here, and they spend all of their energy focusing on the restaurants in here, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of momentum behind it because of that.
Okay. Is there any talk of Michelin coming back
I've
to
heard
Nevada?
rumors. I've heard nothing official. Um, I think that having the 50 Best Awards here this past year really put a spotlight on the city in a way that there wasn't before. We had all of the
Yeah.
people, all of the voters, all of the chefs, all of that media here in the city, and we could really showcase what we're doing and like showcase that there's more to the city than a lot of people think. I know,
Yeah.
like, even myself, like when I first moved out here, I was like, I had been to Vegas when I was like 22 and I hated it. I was like,
Uh-huh.
this isn't for me. I
Yeah.
didn't really want to come back. And, now I've been here for about 5 years, and like the city has surprised me a lot. The pandemic was such a unique time, but I feel like after the pandemic happened, the city like is so hospitality driven, and there's so many people here. We were able to really bounce back and give people great experiences without having to sacrifice any quality really quickly. Where a lot of other
Hmm.
markets had a really hard time bouncing back as quickly because so many people, left these huge cities because the world had shut down, restaurants had shut down, they weren't working, they couldn't afford to live in these cities. Where Las Vegas bounced
Hmm.
back quite quickly, and because of that, we have a lot of momentum, a lot of really cool food happening here. And I think that it was recognized. So I'm fingers crossed hoping that Michelin comes back. But
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not in those meetings.
Like I'm very critical of Michelin a lot of times, but I feel like Las Vegas is one place where it would make so much sense. Like it
There's-
would make so much sense to just have some kind of restaurant ranking criteria, because there are so many restaurants in a small area, and I think there's so many that are just attached to a big name, or they're just kind of like crap places that are really expensive. And like it would be good. It would be good for, maybe that person from Kansas that doesn't read the New York Times all the time, or, like family friends in Ohio that, yeah, they're outside of this like food media bubble, but they're still wanting to go to Vegas and eat out a lot. And the only thing that's rammed in their head is that TV name that they, like Gordon Ramsay or something, or but they would understand, what a Michelin star is. They
yeah,
would kind of understand that there's a criteria there. And in like Las Vegas just seems to exist outside of that bubble. It's just like has its own weird media bubble that's that's not even really like critical media. It's just marketing, I think. I don't know.
that is.
Maybe you understand this better than I do.
I think that's the best way of putting it. What's actually one of my biggest frustrations in the city is how restaurants are marketed. It's all the same, right?
Hmm.
And there's no criticism behind restaurants, and criticism is whether it's it's how we grow, it's how we develop, and how we get
Yeah.
better. It's all like this is a really cool experience, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Where something like Michelin is going to be a lot more like objective. It's like it is 1 star because of X, Y, and Z reasons. It doesn't have a
Hmm.
star, or
Yeah.
like it's in Bib Gourmand for X, Y, and Z reasons, and
Yeah.
it's the same in every state, every
Yeah.
country, continent, city, whatever they're doing. And I like there's nothing like that here. We don't have a food critic. We don't have, you know, any of that stuff. So it's really hard to figure out what is good is what is bad because you're just being
Yeah.
marketed restaurants.
But
I
even
think
if you did have like a major, like I don't know if what's the major newspaper in Las Vegas?
there
It's
the Las Vegas Journal, Las Vegas Review. I don't even
it's
know.
something like that. It sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like even if there was a critic there, it probably wouldn't get read by all the people eating at the restaurants unless they really change the distribution model of
Yeah.
who reads the local paper. So yeah, it's like I could see Michelin being enormously useful there. And like
Mhm.
I criticize Michelin all the time in for many different reasons, but like it makes sense in some places to have that, to have something like that when with so many options and there's just no critical look at any of them.
I mean, it can be really intimidating. And I wonder if also, I'm just thinking of this now, as intentional, or like it had been intentional for a long time. Because if you were going to a casino, you're staying in a casino, like they don't want you to leave that casino. So you're
Yeah.
staying at the Cosmopolitan, they're going to do everything in their power to, bombard you with the restaurants that they have and like the
Yeah.
experiences they have. So you don't leave. And like, it's
Right.
the same for literally every single casino. It's like, why would you want to get marketed other restaurants when we have so many restaurants?
Right.
So
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, it could be go both ways too, though. Like you could be wanting to pull people from the other casinos. Like if you do have a Michelin level restaurant in your
mhm.
casino, I don't know, but yeah, they are kind of self-contained
Yeah.
worlds.
Yeah, I was just
Like,
thinking, it's such a self-contained word that how hard has been for you to, I guess, not losing perspective of things that matter in terms of food and, you know, what food really is supposed to be and I mean, from hunger to healthy eating, conscious eating, in an environment in which gaming, party, noise, all these are the markers of the place. I wonder if you sometimes find yourself forgetting about that, or how is that experience for you? Because it's a self-contained word.
It is. But for me, like growing up in, or like coming up in restaurants and fine dining where, the ingredients are so important, and the people who are working with the ingredients, whether it's the farmers or like the cooks that are processing the product and the training and all of that, like for me, like that's the most important thing. And yes, I walk through the casino every day, but then I'm in my kitchen, I'm in my restaurant. Like the kitchen is, my home, is where I feel comfortable and where I feel like I do my best work. And as soon as I'm in that restaurant, none of that other, all of that noise is gone. You forget where you are, because like you're in a kitchen. You have your stove, you have all of your stuff in front of you.
The
And
scene is the same customers, though.
I think it depends. I think it depends on what you come to the restaurant for. I think that there are so many people who are just coming here for the party, and none of the stuff that we're doing back there matters to them. And I've accepted that. And the other half of the people that come in are really excited for a unique experience, and we're here to make sure that both of those parties have a good time.
Yeah.
That's how we are successful. I feel like working in Las Vegas is humbling, because you have your ego, and you have your things that you want to do, and the things that you've learned and you want to showcase and you experience. And then Vegas can just humble you, it can shut you down. And if you don't find ways to market and be comfortable marketing yourself and marketing the restaurant to both of those groups, then you wouldn't be as successful. But without one group, I wouldn't have the other group. So it's important that you recognize that, and then you build and develop a restaurant that is for all of those people. Like we have like our more casual things, and then we have our really elegant things. And whether you recognize it or not, you're still going to be eating elegant ingredients that are sourced intentionally. We get our masa, we have like a huge heirloom masa program here. So whether you care or not, you're going to be getting beautiful heirloom tortillas that are hand pressed to order. And there's a lot of labor that goes into it, from harvesting that corn to getting it here to milling it to making sure that everything is perfect and the masa is hydrated properly. Like all of that matters, and whether you recognize it or not, like you're experiencing it here. So there's small battles, but at the end of the day, we're putting our best product out there.
Yeah.
What was Mexican food for you growing up?
Non-existent, to be
Non-existent
honest.
at all? Like was there
No.
anything? And no.
In the suburbs of Boston, it was definitely not. And I got into Mexican food all by chance, to be honest. I wasn't necessarily seeking it out, but once I started working at Cosme when I was like 25, I like everything shifted. It was a type of cuisine, like you go in, and I felt like I knew a lot. Like I had gone to culinary school, I worked for really fine dining restaurants, and it was I just went in and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about chilies. I knew nothing about masa. I knew nothing about mole and those flavor developments. And I was really fortunate to work with some really talented people who spent a lot of time teaching me and guiding me and giving me really unique experiences, and building those blocks to be able to, create all of these really cool flavors, and like how to work with them. Like how to make masa is not as easy as people think. Like how to make mole, and like those balances of the flavors, and like the intention behind the chilies, and how you use like different types of sweetness to balance it out. It's not just like sugar and chocolate. It's like raisins and plantains, and like toasting your nuts to a certain point to extract the perfect amount of oil. And it's fascinating. And once I started, I just never really looked back. And it has always fascinated me. And being able to experience different types of Mexican food, like Enrique and Daniela, like there's a lot of like, I feel like Mexico City style in their food. And then as I've like grown and traveled to different regions and experienced new things, it's like you just build on that base, and it's beautiful.
Do you have a favorite region where you like to eat?
I mean, I love Oaxacan food. There's not a lot of Oaxacan food here in Vegas. It's like a very like birria driven city, which is interesting. There's not even a lot of like mariscos or anything. But when you find like a really nice Oaxacan restaurant, that's usually what I try to seek out. How about you?
There's a lot in LA, right? Like LA has like a giant Oaxacan population.
There's also like some really good standalone food in LA, I feel.
Right.
And, obviously there's a lot of coastal things as well, but I don't get to LA as much as I would like.
Yeah. Is there like in Las Vegas, is there like where the Mexican residents are from? Is there like a specific region where the majority is from, or is it just kind of scattered?
It's really scattered, to be
Okay.
honest. And like even within my restaurant, like I have quite a few people from Michoacán, but also I have a lot of people from like literally all over. I have people from Puebla,
Okay.
people from, Tijuana, and it's really fun actually having them all come together because they all have different inputs on ingredients and how things are coming together, and it's fascinating. It's a really good dialogue.
And Casa Playa isn't like it's not focused on this particular region, right? It's just coastal
No,
Mexican, which is pretty broad.
it's
Like it gives
it's
you a lot of
very
freedom, I
open-ended.
think. Yeah.
It does. And I like that, honestly,
Yeah.
because there is so much diversity within the coast. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when we first started, I think that the idea was a lot more like Ensenada, like Baja California,
Hmm.
and like even Cabo, because so many people here just go to Cabo, even though it's, but it's expanded. Like, when we first opened, like that was the focus. They're like, because there's so many people from LA who experience
Hmm.
Mexican food that's, from Ensenada or like that region, like let's bring that to Vegas because there really isn't anything like that here. And as we've developed and as I've like traveled more and as we've, become more like comfortable in what we're producing, we've expanded and we like will work with ingredients from the Yucatan or Oaxaca and like do different things with our masa because like we're learning about different like how people do different things in different regions and it's developed. It's been great.
So the masa program,
Mhm.
it goes well beyond tortillas, right?
Yeah.
Like what else are you making from
One
this
of my
masa?
favorite things on our menu is our tamal. Instead of using lard, we use coconut oil. I found that it has
Okay.
like the same like whipping, like if at room temperature, it's the same, like it's still a solid, and it has the same like
Okay.
whipping. So you can whip it really nicely. And we have our masa, we fold in our squash filling, and we wrap it in banana leaf and steam it, and it's the lightest, like fluffiest dumpling of masa that I've ever
Yeah.
had. And then we top it with our mole verde, which the base of it is also coconut milk. So there's like a little bit of Thai influence in it. But then we use like epazote and santa, serrano,
Hmm.
cilantro, and like all of those Mexican herbs to balance it out. And it's just so vibrant and clean and light. And it's one of my favorite things on the menu. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean it
think I'll
sounds
ever
delicious.
take it off.
Was the choice to use coconut oil because you just wanted to
Just,
make it vegetarian, just like it makes it easier for
it wasn't
the menu
even the
or
intention. It just was, we were playing, we were doing some menu
yeah.
development and experimenting. And I eat really light in general. Like I like eating seafood, I
Hmm.
like eating vegetables. Like I don't really like eating like rich, heavy meats. So I wanted to just find a way to like lighten it up. And it worked. And we've used this technique with like a dessert tamal as well with like sweet potatoes, but then we add like a lot of brown
Hmm.
butter to it. So it, gets a
Okay.
lot richer, but it just produces like the lightest dumpling. It's like it's not even like it is a tamal, but like it's
Yeah.
much different from the traditional tamals. And then we have our tostadas. We have a big machete, which is always fun. People love that
Hmm.
here. We've worked on like different huaraches and tacoyos, and then as we have like brunch, we'll do like flautas, and we have fun with it.
Nice.
Do you feel that you have a community of chefs there with things changing and more restaurants and probably more colleagues from New York, Boston, anywhere
Yeah,
else?
the community of chefs has definitely expanded. When I moved out here, it was such I don't know, it was such a weird time. Like I moved out here, and then 3 months later, the pandemic happened, and I
Yeah.
felt
Yeah,
like for the first
2020.
3 years I was here, I knew no one. I just knew the people I worked with, and it was a small world. Like I didn't like it. Like I didn't feel like Vegas was going to be the place for me. Like I didn't have a community. I couldn't meet people, and part of that was just the situation. Like you were told not,
Yeah.
don't go out, like don't go to
Hmm.
restaurants. And then by the time you could go to restaurants, I was opening my own restaurant, and I had no time to go out. And the chef world here is also like there's a lot of it's very male dominated. I'm one
Right.
of 10 female executive chefs on the Strip, which is crazy. There's only
Out of
three.
how many restaurants? Like
I
hundreds,
don't
right?
even know,
Like,
hundreds. Yeah, and like there's a
yeah,
huge
I would
female
imagine.
chef community outside of the Strip, but there's only three, soon to be four, female owned restaurants on the Strip, which is crazy. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? And since and like about 2 years ago, I feel like things just shifted. And there's this thing called the Women's Hospitality Initiative, and they put together a lot of events and bring like a lot of the female chefs in the community together. And we do like big charity events that like the proceeds will go to, like female like scholarship funds for like females who want to become chefs and develop and might not have the resources or tools to do it, because UNLV has like a really big culinary and hospitality program here. So that has really opened up a lot of doors, and I've met a lot of people. And then of course, like
Mhm.
now we're hired, like a lot more people are coming. Like you said, there's a lot more chefs opening up restaurants here from New York and from markets that that I came from. And it's great because then I can show all of these people like,
Yeah.
there's a lot more here than meets the eye. Like, there's a lot of hiking. There's a lot of like a really cool Chinatown, like our Chinatown in Vegas.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not sure if you remember or if you went to Chinatown. It's awesome.
I don't think so. No, I remember like a few cool like restaurants like off the Strip, but I remember there's always like an article in one of the big magazines every like 3 years about like this is the best restaurant in Las Vegas, and it's like always this like hole in the wall Korean or Thai
Mm-hmm.
or something, or sushi place that's like in the middle of like in nowhere. And
In a strip mall,
but when you
always in a
go out
strip
to
mall.
eat, do you go on the Strip, or do you go like these like
Hmm.
out of the way places?
I like going to the out of the way places. Working
Uh-huh.
on the strip, like you never want to come to the strip if you're not working. It's a lot. Like the casinos, they
Yeah,
suck you in, and like even
yeah,
if you're used to navigating them, it's a lot. Like you have to like they want you to get lost in the casino. Like it's
yeah,
intentional. Like you
yeah.
can't find the exit for a reason. And I like being able to experience restaurants in my own way. And there's
But
so many
it's also
unique
like
things.
intense of like stimulation everywhere all the
Oh,
time, like
sensory
painted
overload.
fucking ceilings and lights and like blinky lights and like sounds and
All
like
of the slot
everywhere. It's
machines are
just like
speaking to
stimulation.
you.
Yeah, it has to be intense. Like you can't. And kitchens are already so intense that it's like
But
you
I
want to
love
just
the
run away. I'm sure
yeah,
sometimes.
but I love the intensity of the kitchen. Like that I'm used to. But
Yeah,
like then you
yeah,
throw in all of those other factors, and then the
yeah.
people, and then yeah. One of the funny things is I don't know if you remember, even if you saw in your casino, the Wheel of Fortune slot machines, and they say
Yeah,
like
yeah. Oh yeah,
Wheel
yeah,
of
yeah,
Fortune. So we
yeah.
started getting fresh wheat lacoche, and it's beautiful, and no one could say it. So I used the Wheel of Fortune slot machine. So I taught everyone how to say it. It's like Wheel la coche instead of Wheel of Fortune, and now everyone can say it. So sometimes those slot machines benefit you.
You could brand that, I'm sure. Like just put like two slot machines, like have the Wynn like create two or three Huitlacoche slot machines, like and put them outside the restaurant or something like that. Like that would totally be a
I love
thing, I
that. I'll
think.
pitch it.
Yeah.
See how that goes down.
So, yeah, okay, so what are your favorite places like when you go out to eat?
Yeah. And if
Um,
there is a local dish you have identified and like.
I wouldn't say that
Uh,
there's like necessarily like a local dish to Vegas because there's like
Yeah.
Vegas is such a diverse city.
Yeah.
And there's a huge Latin population, there's a huge Asian population. Las Vegas has the third biggest Filipino population in the world. It's the Philippines, Hawaii, and then Las Vegas. Which
Okay.
is so interesting. So there's it's like so many different cultures, so many different cuisines. So I wouldn't say that there's a single dish that like stands out as like this is the Las Vegas dish. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a few really cool places. One of my favorite taquerias is called Birria El Compa. There's two locations. There's one on the east side and then one right off the strip. And I live really close to the one off the strip, so it's great. Amazing birria. They do goat and beef, and you can get like big platters or just a taco, and it's phenomenal. And it's only open from 8 to 4, so it's just breakfast lunch.
Okay.
There's also this amazing tempura restaurant called Chaman, and they do onigiri. It opens at noon, and there's always a huge line. And the onigiri is really cute. You go in the restaurant, and they give you a basket, and you don't eat the onigiri there. You just take it to go, and you like walk through their little like stall, and you pick out what you want. And then they have like snow, like in the restaurant themselves, they have their own like tempura. Like it's a unique blend of flour that they brought from Japan, and it's just phenomenal tempura. It blows me away. And then for dinner, if you really wanted to have like a baller experience, there's some really nice izakayas outside of the strip. Like one of my favorites is Kabuto Eneme. But just like for like local spots, there's a steakhouse called Herbs and Rye in Cleaver, and like they are known for their bar program. They have phenomenal cocktails. It's like an industry hangout, and they do like this late night happy hour for industry people where you can get half off steak after like 11 or 12 o'clock, so you can get off your shift and go get a steak dinner.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be the quintessential Vegas dish. Just
Yeah,
getting
like
a
late night
midnight
steak
steak
dinner.
dinner.
Yeah.
But like some other great spots out the strip are like Black Sheep. Jamie Tran does like really good like Vietnamese kind of fusion food, and like Sparrow and Wolf, which is in Chinatown, but it's kind of an eclectic restaurant. I would say it's American, but they incorporate a lot of different cuisines into their food. Is also really nice. And the chef there is just so kind and has like a really, brought a lot of people in the community together, which I really appreciate.
So you guys have a late night menu, right?
We do. So on Friday and Saturday, we turn the restaurant into a taqueria. After it starts at 10, but it really starts at 10:30, and it's for people who, because we close at 10:30 on the weekends, so there's still so many people like going out to the clubs and doing all of this, but you don't want to go to the club at 10:30, and you also don't want to go to the club with an empty stomach like some people do, but not my poison. So we offer
the menu, it's like a totally separate menu. It's
totally
just
separate
tacos.
Menu. It's tacos. We have like one aguachile, chips and guac, and then we have we offer our like large format carnitas to people who want something bigger. But it's just like meant to be really quick and in and out, because typically the dining experience here, you'll get 3 courses. You're here for an hour and a half, and like it's a restaurant experience. And then for late night, you're in and out. Like you could be here for 15 minutes, you could be here for an hour if you want, just drinking and eating. But it's just meant to be fast and fun and enjoy. We always have live music, so there's always like a DJ just pumping out beats. And our restaurant is right next to Encore Beach Club, so they're always open in the summer, and a lot of people are just like walking by, and it's a really fun way to either start or end your night depending on what you're in the mood for.
Cool.
Have you noticed any presence of Native Americans? Because I know some Native Americans own casinos, and they have special regulation. The one that we ended going up to by unexpectedly is owned by a Native American community.
Yeah, but
so I don't know.
That's not in Vegas, though. I don't think. Is it?
Yeah, have you not? No,
not as much here in like the Strip necessarily. Like in Las Vegas, I think there could be, but there's not a huge presence on the Strip.
Yeah, you don't interact with. Okay.
Yeah, I've never been to a native casino. I'm sure they're fascinating in some ways. Like Nephi Craig, Nephi Craig, who we had on a couple of times. He opened a restaurant in Arizona before he like did his current project that looked amazing. Like he was like actually no, it was a ski resort. Never mind. but
I don't know. This one was, and I mean, I was not enough time to notice anything. People were very kind, and I saw some diversity, but that doesn't necessarily mean it, because I'm just curious if there is a difference or not, and if in Vegas there is a presence.
Julie, you've never been to Vegas? Like you live so close.
I know, but I mean, I don't.
You're gonna need to make it
I
one of these days.
Yeah, well, maybe now because of Sarah can be a
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
I haven't prioritized Vegas, honestly.
Well, if you come, let me know and we'll
But
put
it's,
together a good
yes,
itinerary for you. It'll be a good
yes,
balance
I'd
of
love to.
on
I'd
and
love
off.
to. Now I'm very curious.
No, but what I love, it's like you can go there and get like the cheapest room ever.
Yeah,
Like there's so many hotels that are like not doing great business, and
yeah.
they're totally
No, it's,
fine. Like I'm used to staying in jungles and things where it's like if there's
yeah,
hot water, it's luxury. But like
I
you
would
can
yeah,
get
not
like
recommend.
normal hotels that are
Yeah.
like $20 a night sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
No,
not on
it's
the
And
weekends,
I
yeah,
but
should do it.
I wouldn't recommend going the cheapest possible. Like there's like a
right,
good balance of like not spending $1,000 a night and not spending
right,
$20 a night, but like finding
Yeah.
a good happy medium. Because
right,
like
right, right.
but you might not ever come back if you go to that $20 a night one.
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't
okay.
go without your recommendation.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like this. There's a lot of like weird, seedy parts of Vegas that
I
like
bet.
I didn't have that much experience in those, but it's like they always seemed great in a weird way.
It's
I'm sure,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure there's lots of danger in some places,
I mean, honestly,
but
right by the swap meet, there's some
yeah.
really like divey casinos. Like
Oh, I'm
they're
sure.
real fun, and you walk in and you're like, like finding those like $1 tables or those $5
Yeah,
tables because like you go to the strip, you look around, you're like $50 for a round of craps. You're like, no, gracias. Like
yeah,
I can't do this. And then you find something like just kind of like a little bit like you said, seedier, divier, and you're like, this is great. Like I could
yeah,
learn how to gamble here.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, like I'm glad the swap meet's still going. Like that's like my most cherished memory of Las Vegas, the swap meet for some
It's
reason, and
it's fun.
it's I definitely if I ever go back, I'm sure I will sometime. Oh, that's like on my bucket list of
Yeah.
things to do. The swap meet.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming to the city. Like I'm really excited about it. It's like been a huge shift. Like in the 5 years I've been here, it's been like a roller coaster of highs and lows and different emotions and different feelings towards the city. And I'm finally at a point of just like this is really cool. Like we're doing something different, and the city is different from what I expected for
Hmm.
like the city, and it's different from what I expected for myself.
Mm.
But there's a lot of opportunity here that is different, is not what I expected, but is really unique. Like operating a restaurant in a casino is unlike anything else. Like working for a small independent restaurant and then coming here and dealing with like a company that's traded on like the stock market and like the S&P 500, and you're like,
Hmm.
whoa, these expectations have shifted so much, and it's really fascinating to be a part of.
Yeah. So you feel like staying for now?
For now, like the restaurants, like it took until now, but the restaurant has like hit a point where I'm really proud of it, and
Mm.
there's only you can only go up from here, and it feels silly to like walk away from it when we're in such a good
Yeah.
place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Julie, any last questions?
No, I mean, all the questions I have are kind of when I am there.
yeah, I would love to have you to Vegas. I want to. I feel like you're very hesitant about it, and I trust me. I understand the
No,
hesitancy, but
no. Like
it's
I like know Julie well enough to where like I know in her mind she hears Las Vegas and she thinks that's absolutely not the place for me. But I guarantee you, like, there's another side of it which you would find fascinating.
I believe you. I trust Nick, and now I mean I trust Sarah. So now I have to go.
yes, you do.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. It was really nice speaking with you, and
You
I hope
too.
to get there one day.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks so
please.
much, and
I would love that.
congratulations for all the hard work and being patient, and you know, just waiting for better times as well.
Thank you.
Let's see. All right. It's stopping.